Hi, I'm back for part two. Before we leave that OTT over the top television streaming discussion, I did want to mention this. I have this on the Padlet, this link to a case study. It's by a digital advertising company, Adventure. They're actually a pretty big company. I think it's Adventure Media. And they have quite the client list. And this was one of the case studies on their website, and this was about how they help Forbes grow their subscription base. So, and what I really thought was interesting too was that, when they talk about the challenges, they say the print industry as a whole has seen a decline in subscriptions, which is really, as much as we have seen the stability of the print magazine industry. We just looked at those slides from the last in the last video. We can say that the decline in subscriptions is understandable, not because people don't want magazines or don't value magazines, print or digital, but that there's so much competition for media, right? With all the television streamers, with music, podcasting, there's a lot. So traditional magazine subscriptions, whereas 20 years ago maybe you would have had 5, now people might just have 2 because they also have other subscriptions to other things. So, but I think, as a general challenge, that might be true. And then for Forbes in particular, I thought that was really interesting how they admit that they really just no longer had exclusive content. A lot of their content is just kind of, business content that you can find in other places. So they had to really find a new audience and appeal to a new niche. And they did that by going to recent graduates. So they really were targeting Gen Z, probably some millennials, and they were doing it with and they also did it with exclusive video content. And so obviously video, this is another way that we're seeing a connection between magazine publishers and OTT streamers, the television and movie digital publishers. And we also see publications like National Geographic has a lot of video for their magazine, and obviously they have a television channel too. But if you look at National Geographic magazine, you'll see they have a lot of video content. A lot of it is for subscribers only. Wired magazine has recently gotten into the whole offering exclusive video content. New York Times has been doing very well with their video content. The other thing I want to mention about the New York Times, again, because they're a very large national publication, and as much as they have a lot of news, they also have a lot of feature content, and I actually have a subscription to New York Times Cooking. It's like a sub subscription, okay? Like I don't, through this account, because I have a subscription to the New York Times through Drexel. For my personal account, I don't have a personal subscription to the New York Times, but I have a personal cooking New York Times subscription. I pay $5 a month, and I actually really like the New York Times Cooking. Content is really good. They have a really terrific app. The recipes are great. I really like it a lot, and I'm willing to pay for it. So they've been doing really well in building their subscribers through that kind of content. They've been doing really well with email newsletters. Now you guys, some of you are Gen Z and some of you are millennials. You might not be, I think the millennial crowd is starting to get more into like email newsletters are very effective for certain populations. So like the New York Times has What to Watch Next, where they review all kinds of content for all the OTTs. And it's really good, and it's free. So some of their feature content is paid, some of it is not, but the more that they have like that, to bring people into the fold is really the strategy. So it's really it's really brilliant. And they're also doing much more with video. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just don't have a flat out like New York Times, the New York Times television channel soon enough. That's probably coming. But right now, let me switch over and let me go back to our Padlet, and I want to talk a little bit about some more unconventional advertising methods. So, digital advertising, one of the challenges is that in the first video I talked about the popularity of print, and also not to say that the print advertising is popular, but it's very effective. Right? It really fits in, it really blends in. And now for digital publications and digital magazines, one of the trends over the last, especially, I'm going to say 5 years, probably in the last 10 years, but mostly in the last 5 years, has been this trend of native advertising. And native advertising takes the same approach that print advertising does for a print publication. It just fits right in. It almost looks sometimes like it's hard to tell what's an ad or what's featured content. It just blends right in. And this is the same idea, only digitally. So for a digital publisher might have a native ad. It's a brand sponsored paid advertisement. So this is actually this one is a couple years old. This is a really famous example of, it's kind of like what native advertising can be when it's really well done. This is Netflix and the New York Times. This was created by the New York Times, has their own studio that creates these multimedia presentations for their brand partners. It's really good. There's really good video in here. It's really compelling. It is not overly salesy at all. It's very issue oriented. And Netflix never would say, or the New York Times, no, it's kind of a secret, like how much this cost. But it's still here. It's still on their website. So it is paid for content, right, that appears on the New York Times site. Look up here. This is New York Times. This is a paid post. So you're not clicking off and going to another site. You're staying on the New York Times site. Let me show you another example that is not quite as splashy, but kind of makes the same point. So speaking of Forbes, I just pulled this up. So here's this giant banner, right, for Lexus. Very intrusive. I'm like, I just want to get away from it. So yeah, I'm going to scroll to the site to get away. Okay, here we are. So now we have the actual content. Already, that did not take long, right? ServiceNow brand voice paid program, disrupting your own developers. So by ServiceNow contributor, so ServiceNow I guess is a brand, and this is a brand contributor, but it looks very much like an ad, an article that would be on their site. We're still on Forbes. We haven't left their site. Let's see. It has a byline, so it really looks like an article. We've got quotes. There's some outbound links. This really looks like an article, and it is not. It's actually a ServiceNow. So this is a plug for them. And then they have more stuff down here. So it's like they almost have their own little page within Forbes here. And like they've got this over here now. So if you'll see, sometimes BuzzFeed will have these where you'll actually see the brand will have their Instagram like streaming right there on the page with it. So this is native advertising. This is advertising that fits right in, that looks like editorial content, but it's not. So how it's labeled really varies. This one says brand voice. Sometimes it'll say, sponsored content. So obviously one of the issues is, do people really know when they're always reading, this paid for content? And then we also have this issue with what we call affiliate advertising. So there's some more native stats that you can look at. And also, before I go switch over to talking about affiliate, here's another one from Forbes, and this is corporate social responsibility. This is about racism, and so you'll often see companies will do native advertising for their corporate social responsibility programs. So it's not always just hawking, products or services. Sometimes there is, more depth to these kinds of ads, and you can have more depth because it's not just like a line, it's not just a jingle or a line, it's an actual article. But affiliate advertising is even a little bit more controversial. So an affiliate ad is when you go to a magazine and then you're doing a list. And we're going to talk about listicles. If you don't know what listicles are, you soon will in week 5. But it's this like the top 10 products that you want to buy for Christmas, or the top 10 best reads for summer, and then there's links to whatever the top 10 whatevers are, and now it could be that the publisher is getting a cut of that, so we may earn a commission is usually what the language that you'll see. So this one was, I just happened to find this one in Glamour, the best gifts for each zodiac sign. Typical kind of fluffy listicle article, and then if you do click on these, then you will, and buy any of these, then they will get a commission. It irritates me to no end when they just won't admit, oops, I went to the wrong page here, when they won't admit that they're going to get the stupid commission. So you'll often see language like, oh, we may get a commission. No, they're going to get a commission. I keep getting back to that one Forbes article there. Let me get out of there. Oh, here I am. So I find that a little irritating. Also, too, how affiliate links are labeled is not always super clear, but you'll see them everywhere now. Like this one is Bon Appetit, and then they'll say we may get a commission. So obviously you can see how this could be controversial, and you'll see these kind of statements, all products are independently selected by our editors, but they will earn the commission if you click the link and buy it from Bon Appetit. Okay, but I mean, so I see both sides. The one side is the magazine publishers are like, we've been doing these articles for brands forever, and and we do recommend products, and why shouldn't we get a little slice of the pie? And then the other side is, how do we know as the reader of this magazine that you're not just recommending this product because you have an affiliate relationship? So I think the least suspicious ones are the ones where you'll see just the links go to Amazon, where you can buy just about anything. I think sometimes when it's more like one brand, and you're going to the brand's website, that seems a little more like, are they really just recommending it? I don't know. So you want to have the editorial integrity, but then also magazine publishers need to make money. So it is a bit, it's not clear cut. The FCC has to do much more regulating. We see this spilling over into influencer marketing that we see, and we'll talk more about that too, because bloggers often become influencers. But these are just some of the issues in magazine advertising that are really pretty interesting. So that's it for me, and I'll see you guys on the discussion board, and I'm looking forward to seeing the examples of affiliate and native ads that you find in the publications and the online publications that you're reading.